Welcome to the Rotary Club of York. We are a people of action who believe in service above self and follow the four-way test. And can I just say, this room is full. Give yourselves a round of applause. It is truly awesome to see all of your faces here. And I was beginning to think we may not have enough chairs. And isn't that a great problem to have? So we look forward to building that and building that and building that. So great that you're here. And if you could take a moment to silence your cell phones if you haven't already done that. Our opening song, God Bless America, will be led by Cal Weary, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation will be by Michael Reichman, and Jen May will introduce our visitors.
Rotarians, join me. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're back. Okay, now, if you're like me, I think you need a little reminder or two, because this is maybe the first time we're dining in an official capacity. Chew with your mouth closed. The sleeve is not a napkin. And if you need to belch, there is no mute button on Zoom in front of you, okay? Or any other expelling of air from your body, all right? So just remember our table manners, okay, everybody? Please join me in a word of prayer. This past year's, the public's relationship with the police has gone through an emotional reckoning. When should the police be called? What should police be called for? What is an appropriate use of force? Is the use of force proportional? Is the use of force being applied equitably? These are tough questions, and in the age of social media, everyone is an armchair judge and jury. There's a wide variety of opinions, whether you're in the camp of Blue Lives Matter all the way to abolish the police. Regardless of your stance, empathy is the key. No matter how atrocious or righteous we find the actions of others. May civilians and law enforcement officers find ways to bring the gaps between each other, to bridge the gaps between each other, so it's not an us versus them mentality, because we're all part of the same community. Amen.
Good afternoon. My name is Jen May, and I'm here to welcome our one individual guest for today's meeting. We're happy that she is able to be with us today. I hope that she will enjoy the program and return again in the future. Our guest is Ella Weary, father of Cal Weary. Ella, please stand.
Ella, it is so great to have you with us today. You're no stranger to Rotary, so we hope that You're continuing on your uphill climb to being healthy and strong and ready to come back often to visit with us. As you know, we've been sending lots of loving, supportive messages and prayers to Cal Weary and his family throughout Ella's recovery, and it's really just so heartwarming to see her with us today. So again, can we give her a round of applause? Great to see you, Ella. The membership committee will meet today at 1:30 via Zoom. The RCI Board of Directors will meet tomorrow morning via Zoom at 8 a.m. And the IDEA Committee will meet on Monday, July 12th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. The Rotary District 7390 will host a district development session on Monday, July 12th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And participants will be introduced to the Learning Center, which is a training resource on everything from how to run a webinar, how to propose legislation, Rotary Club Central resources, and role-specific selections such as president, secretary, and treasurer. Thanks to the great work of past President Mike Summers and our program committee, we have some fantastic programs coming up that I know you'll want to be here to enjoy. Next week, we have Dr. Scott Moore from University of Pennsylvania, who'll speak on the current state of U.S.-China relations. On July 21st, we'll have Thornhill here, the owners, Amy and Jack Thorne, who will talk about their business model and their unique way that they went about being successful in the wine industry. They are grape growers, winemakers who do this in California, but live in Pennsylvania. It's a great story, and I'm thrilled to say they're going to share with us some of their fantastic wines, so you'll want to be here. On July 28th, we'll have Glenhope Care Farm. Amy Morris and her farm have a mission to help veterans overcome challenges through farming, nature, and community outreach. August 4th, because we like to keep you well nourished, we're going to have Caputo Brothers Creamery here. And owner Rin Caputo will talk about their challenges, their expansion, and we're going to have some wonderful cheese in our lunch. And I understand there's a very special dessert planned as well. So don't miss that meeting on August 4th. And now, our member moment. Our inaugural member moment features John Schmidt. John joined Rotary in 1963 and served as Rotary president in 1976-77. He's been a member for over 58 years. When asked why he joined Rotary, he will tell you, because his father told him he had to. Henry Schmidt was a longtime active member of Rotary, and he kept a journal, a weekly journal about Rotary meetings, in which he would note whether or not the meeting had a good program. And truth be told, John also keeps a journal about Rotary. In John's career, he went from the Navy to the paper mill, to the Yorktown Hotel, and then the York Bank. He worked for the family business at Schmidt and Alt Paper Company from 1961 to 1972, and during his time there, the company sold to St. Regis Paper Company. After the paper company, he became acting general manager of the Yorktown Hotel, while at the same time running the Honey Run golf course. Interesting fact. He first served York Bank on their board of directors before he was hired in 1976, where he served as president for 20 years before retiring in 1996. Upon retirement, John's wife Sue said to him, "Hey, let's bicycle across country." And John said, "No, let's maybe consider biking across a state. Let's do that." And if you know Sue Schmidt at all, you know that she's very persuasive. And so they began training for their cross-country trek by bicycling 3,000 miles around York County. In 1998, at the age of 65, they started their journey in Seattle, Washington, and finished 6 weeks later in Washington, D.C. If you ask John, he will tell you, while he enjoys history, he's more interested in today and the future than he is in the past, which is why he and Sue read 4 papers every single morning. John likes Rotary because he has many old friends here and always enjoys meeting new ones. So if you don't know him, introduce yourself to John, tell him what you do, tell him what interests you, and he will be sure to ask you many questions because he's genuinely interested in knowing more about you. And now for a fellowship event update, past President Rob Bowen.
Thank you, Jackie. It's so great to see you as president, and it's so great to see everybody back in this room. Congratulations to you all. The Fellowship and Networking Committee is charged with events outside of the Wednesday luncheon. So you get to see your friends once a week. Let's make it a little bit more often. We have 2 events coming up for your participation. These are entirely voluntary, but you do get a makeup credit for that. I think we still do. And okay, so the first one will be on Thursday evening, July the 29th, and that is the Revs Game. We're going to have the picnic area to ourselves. Well, not to ourselves, but all as one group. We will have a picnic there. Please sign the form that's on your table. It's $24 for an adult. It is $14 for children age 4 to 10, and children under 3 are free. So hopefully we get a really big turnout to go watch a ball game. It's against the Lexington Legends that evening, and a wonderful picnic. So please put that on your calendar. The very next day, the York State Fair is opening to us for a luncheon, and this is the networking part. You will receive a lunch, you'll receive free access to the fair, a luncheon, and a review, a presentation of what happened this year at the fair. It's always a great event. We usually have a lot of folks turn out for this, and that's the next day, Wednesday luncheon. We will give you tickets to enter and park prior to that meeting. So it's always a fun afternoon. So the Fellowship Committee is always looking for ideas. If you have an idea, give me a call. We're looking for, one just came up at the table, the new Heart and Vascular Center. We'll try to get in there and get a tour and see what that is. But the networking is generally a lunchtime affair, and it's a business related. So it involves a tour and a presentation. Fellowship is just simply having a nice time with friends that you may or may not have met at Rotary, and that way we increase understanding within each other. So thank you for the opportunity, and sign up those forms. Thank you.
And now a scholarship update video from Megan Dubian. Megan is a 2020 Sanford M. Chronic Scholarship recipient. She's a 2020 graduate of Dallastown High School and is currently attending Penn State as a finance and logistics major.
Hi, my name is Megan Dubian, and I was honored to be a recipient of the Cranage Scholarship last year for $1,000 to be issued for 2 years. I completed my first year of schooling at Penn State University's main campus, and I will be continuing my schooling there next year. I received a 4.0 and was on the Dean's List both semesters. I also took an accounting class this summer to be able to apply for my major early. I plan on obtaining a major in finance with a minor in supply chain and information sciences technology. I also plan on obtaining a real estate analysis and development certificate. I really enjoyed my experiences at Penn State, and I'm looking forward to classes and events being held in person next year. This year I was involved in Women in Business, where I got to volunteer, attend corporate events, and network. I was also on the Dancer Relations Committee for Thon, the largest student-run philanthropy in the world, where I got to personally assist dancers emotionally and physically to make it through the 48-hour dance marathon. We raised a total of over $10.6 million for childhood cancer despite being in the middle of a pandemic. I'm so excited to continue my experiences at Penn State next year. This scholarship has helped make college more affordable, and I really appreciate the generosity of the Rotary members. Thank you again.
Special thanks to Diane Marino and to Renee Oberdick for all of their hard work on behalf of these scholarships for our students. Thank you so much, both of you. And now to introduce our speaker, Cal Weary.
Oh, wow. You know, my age is showing. I don't want to introduce anybody without these. All right. Now, We'll start with the glasses. This gentleman is a proud advocate for York, a champion for the youth, a long-standing presence in the local law enforcement community over the course of his 20 years. He has had the opportunity to serve in leadership roles both at the school district and now at the city police department. And I think before that, you were at the police department too, right? For over 12 years, he's been at the school. I believe his greatest attributes have always been his ability to relate to people, his drive and his positive outlook on creative and traditional approaches to problem solving. Now, that's what's on the paper. You could have read that yourself. Now I'm going to tell you about the guy that I know. Mike Muldrow and I have had the pleasure of being friends for a very long time and working at the school district together. And I knew you before you were there too. And what I'm going to tell you, the most important thing about this gentleman is that he is one of us. He is one of us that's in the trenches. He is one of us who's willing to pick up a broom and clean the ground. He's one of us who's willing to walk the streets and be an actual force, a force of love, a force of strength, and someone who, when I've been in the darkest moments of my life, has taken my call, not just texted me back, but called me back. Mike Muldrow is not just a commissioner. He is a citizen of York, Pennsylvania. And I'm proud to call him my friend, and hopefully one day to call him a Rotarian. Without further ado, our speaker today, Commissioner Mike Muldrow.
I'm so tall, I have to make sure I adjust this properly so as to have my voice project in an appropriate way. So first off, thank you for having me today. I really appreciate being here. I'm excited for the opportunity to come before everybody and speak a little bit about not only what I do, but about the police department that I absolutely love and the things that we're doing on behalf of the community that I proudly care about so much. So if you will indulge me, I want to make sure that I appropriately use my time. So I have some prepared things I want to make sure that I get through. So the prayer, the invocation that we started with was a perfect segue, sir, for the things that I plan to speak about today. And hopefully by the time I'm done, it gives everybody a better sense of our department, where we're going, the things that we're accomplishing, and if we're holding ourselves to task with the challenges that came up in your words. So a little about us. As a leader of this agency, it is and has always been my personal professional philosophy that police should function as a part of their community rather than apart from it. Empowered by the people that we serve, that I serve, police represent a multi-purpose resource with connections, the influence, and when necessary, the authority to get things done on a call, in a neighborhood, and in the community. If tempered with patience, empathy, a humane touch, there is no greater way for a person to serve or impact their community than donning a uniform and a badge in defense of others. Remembering, like I was told at very early on in my career by well-respected officers such as my father, the badge does not make the man makes the badge. While it took me many years to truly learn what that meant, in the end, I understand the sentiment behind it and continue to try and install that in the officers who serve under me. This job, this badge provides you with a platform to get things done for other people. So the what? I want to give you a brief overview of what our department has been up to. We're holding on to the things that have always been effective, like our traditional enforcement and proactive policing tactics, and throwing out some things and some practices that have gotten in the way of real, respectful relationships with our community. So in a relatively short time, we've thrown a lot of new things against the wall to see what's going to stick. Things that may seem a little unorthodox or outside the box, particularly for police departments, and proactive policing tactics. Stuff that focuses on building people up, strengthening our team, internally, creating bonds outside, supporting people, families, and neighborhoods. Things that ultimately work together for the good of the whole. Things we've kept, like our relentless daily pursuit of guns and shooters, Operation Scarecrow, like you may have seen on the news, our street team and task forces, the newly formed gun squad we now have in place, neighborhood saturation patrols, weekly curfew sweeps that we've launched, particularly for the summertime, and the dedication of our officers who help handle York City's 50,000 emergency calls per year. And other initiatives that we've just started, things such as our continual focus on community outreach, our monthly community forums that we hold to keep our residents informed, hear them out, maintain strong connections, and answer questions, no matter how hard they may be. Our bi-weekly community walks that I lead myself, and our foot patrols, increased number of foot patrols that you're seeing from our officers. I'm really proud to say that we continue to get out for the community walks 2 nights a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. We're now seeing groups that exceed 25 to 30 people from various businesses, churches, and other agencies that come along and participate in those walks. And collectively across the board, and anybody knows anything about policing, will also share my excitement in this. We've now calculated that our officers are literally walking 30% of the day in various neighborhoods across the city. In addition to that, we have free workshops like our Women's Self-Defense Seminar that's being put on free by our department. The Juvenile Engagement Officer role or position, tasked with helping parents prevent young people from becoming involved in the system. Our Therapy Dog program, which has been a hit, to say the least, to help support crime victims, traumatized neighborhoods, and improve relations with the community through utilizing the same tool that had vilified our department in the past. The Aging in Place program, which was created to support our local seniors, helping them feel better about their homes by providing free basic security cameras that our officers, a team of our officers and city government leaders, actually go out and mount themselves. Excited because that program, we now actually have over 100 individuals that are in the pipe to actually have systems erected, and new funders that have been coming on board to help us with providing additional cameras for other people. The Handle with Care initiative that was designed to improve our response or our ability to respond while supporting people in crisis and those who suffer from mental health and disability. And just an overview of what that is, the Handle with Care initiative is actually a self-reporting resource or a database that will be available to our officers and other emergency responders that will allow people in the community to identify whatever special needs or concerns they may have, thus being able to put that information in for our officers to draw from. So when we're responding, we're able to provide the care and the appropriate way in an effort to prevent some of the unintended consequences that you see across the nation when police officers respond to deal with the mentally ill. So we're really excited about that. Partnering with local nonprofits and community activist groups to help establish a juvenile reentry program that's actually going to be focused on engaging juveniles previously involved in gun violence for the purpose of deterring future activity and recidivism. Committing resources to department-based counseling services to help support traumatized neighborhoods and those individuals with mental health issues. And we're excited because we will be bringing on 2 full-time mental health counselors, clinicians that will be serving in our department, day shift and evening shift, that will literally respond to calls along with our officers, or at times instead of our officers, for the purpose of actually helping our community. So we're really, really excited about that. Renewed commitments to diversity and inclusion with our newly appointed diversity and inclusion officer, tasked with being a resource to the community and working to make the inside of our agency a more tolerant place. Thanks to the support of our partners at WellSpan Health, with the development of our newly forming Credible Messenger program, which will serve as a bridge or a liaison with the community, helping to educate the community, strengthen relationships for the purpose of deterring violence, assisting with mitigating beefs, quarrels, and disputes, support and guide victims and families through crisis situations, promote cooperation with the police, the hospital, and better cooperation with the prosecutor's office thereafter. Continuing to go all in with our GVI program and the initiatives that are attached to that, along with our county partners. Putting and staffing a new community computer lab in the Vonnie Grimes gym for our local youth. The creation of the York City Police paid cadet program for the purpose of creating quality employment opportunities for persons 18 to 21, inspiring young people to take an active role in justice, safety, and service within their own community, developing a strong local talent pool of qualified officer candidates while helping to make both our department and our local law enforcement partners agencies more diverse, and continuing to foster strong partnerships with our schools, churches, social service groups, business community, municipal, county, state, federal, and federal partners, just to name a few things. So with all that said, we want to look at the why. Why are we going that direction with as a police department? Where did our a different way strategy come from? What's the method behind our madness? So while I may differ from some in philosophy in what constitutes the best strategy for policing in the modern day community, particularly in an urban environment, I'm certain that everyone involved in the conversation would have the same goal: peaceful, thriving neighborhoods filled with productive individuals and healthy households. But alas, far too often, that's not what we're seeing. Instead, for our best efforts, resource-intensive ideas, and the fruits of our traditional labors, we continue to see decay, declines, despair, loss of citizen, consumer, and customer confidence, and growing hopelessness. Well, if the definition of insanity is really doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results, and we as a society do not like what we're seeing when we look out the window, in the mirror, or in our path ahead, then it only stands to reason that we have to be willing to do some things differently. And different is what you're seeing coming from the York City Police Department. So with that said, that's what we see coming out of the York City Police. That's what you see: a small group of talented professionals trying a mix of things, traditional and unorthodox, with a goal of change in mind. Things such as an intentional effort and focus on rebranding our department as a community resource, focusing on prevention collectively, renewed focus on getting people to feel better about their environment, increased trust in the police, promotions encouraging people to get involved on all levels, taking ownership in their own justice and the breakdowns in their community, helping to establish better behavioral limits through relationship, i.e. the more people feel like they know you, the less likely they are to destroy your stuff or cause harm. Then, as people buy into our role, our level of investment, and how much we as an agency care, our in everyone's best interest philosophy and the lengths we're going to prevent and discourage such negative behaviors, they'll be more willing to comply, self-correct, avoid those destructive behaviors that cause issues for us and for everyone in the community. Afterwards, when and if these unfortunate events do occur and our agency has to target and remove individuals who don't comply, continuing to harm and encroach upon the rights of others, our community will be more amenable to the more traditional police tactics necessary to address those individuals, i.e. those arrests. Ultimately, I contend, this will result in several outcomes: creating a change in how people view the police, increasing confidence in the police and their ability of government to actually help, people becoming more willing to cooperate with the police, making those calls, providing information, and testifying in court thereafter, people more willing to comply with the law, social norms, and expectations of the land, increasing the overall level of thoughtfulness and social conscience between our citizens, all working together to promote safer neighborhoods, which will, in theory, make the community more attractive, increase home and property ownership, promote business, increase the tax base, improve resources available in our schools, helping to educate our students, create new jobs, strengthen families, so on and so forth, ultimately leading to a stronger, happier, healthier, more vibrant York. So, how are we doing? How's it working? How effective has any of this been? Even in difficult times across the nation, with spikes in violence, calls for defunding the police, and recruitment of underrepresented populations at an all-time low, I can stand here before you today and say that our complaints are actually down. Departmental morale is up. Our people are re-energized and excited to come to work. We're receiving calls and emails daily for guest appearances, speaking engagements, and requests for walks in people's neighborhoods. New tips and information continue to flow in every week, and community cooperation is increasing as we're even getting calls requesting help from the guys who are out there in the street and or their parents. We're coming up with creative solutions for longstanding problems, like utilizing drones to fly, to follow, investigate, and combat the dirt bike issue, and having direct sit-down, compelling conversations with individuals with suspected ties and involvements in the street, urging them to stop for the sake of their community before we come and have to stop them. And working with local school districts, urging them to focus on teaching conflict resolution in an effort to prevent or deter the culture of gun violence that exists amongst our youth. Just over the half-year mark, we have more gun arrests and more gun seizures than the department has ever seen, with one officer who is one gun arrest shy of a dozen by himself. And as we're preparing for a return to an independent internal department test rather than the county consortium, interest in joining our team and becoming part of the York City Police Department has never been higher. We're seeing an unprecedented number of sponsors helping to financially support our departmental projects and initiatives as we're nearing our goal of potentially hitting $500,000 this year. The collective energy behind it all has culminated in a swell of community volunteerism, participation, and support with and for our department like our people have never seen before. Support rarely associated with a police department in an urban area. Our footprint in the community is expanding daily with new projects and opportunities and entities that would like to partner. And the message is absolutely getting out there, as over the last month, we've seen a 40% reduction in daytime shooting activity between the hours of 7 to 5. And the department continues to maintain a nearly 60% homicide clearance rate, consistent with the national average of 61.4%. So I say all that to say, yes, I'm absolutely a dreamer. I am an optimist and a positive person by nature who will always find a way to make myself happy, or as my mom would say, tickle me. And I believe that energy is transferring inside of our department and also in the community. And I'm excited to say that we are starting to actually see the results of those efforts. So thank you for having me today. And I am open to entertaining any questions. I think he beat you by a little bit.
Where do you stand with the issue of surveillance cameras in different parts of the city? Okay, thank you for the question. It was actually a question about where we stand with the community surveillance, the issue of community surveillance cameras. I feel like I always say about being in mixed company. I feel like I'm amongst friends, so everybody knows my position on that. I don't hide it. I think that it absolutely will serve the community well and provide instant impact for all of us, whether residents, visitors, business owners. We will all see the benefits of having a system similar to the one in Lancaster. Now, with that said, unfortunately, I'm not in control of it. If I was in control of it, my goal would have been to have it done yesterday. Because that's how I function. I just believe in always trying to find a way. If I can't get in the door, I'm coming through the window. If I can't get in the window, I'll climb through the roof and slide down the chimney. So I believe the people, the steering committee that's actually working on the project outside of me, the last few polls have definitely been favorable. The community polls, I believe it always hovers around 75 to 80% support. And
all the meetings that I've been in and with all the individuals who are looking at potentially being investors in the project, the support really seems to be there. I think we need only look across the water to see what the benefits would look like of a good, strong public surveillance system here in the community. If it works in Lancaster, it would work here. And I like the model that they use that is actually spearheaded by a citizen agency or entity that oversees the cameras and provides the information that they want to provide to the police department when necessary. So I'm a proponent. Anybody, I believe, everybody in the room here has their own circles of influence. I think if you are in support of the project, continue to be a vocal advocate. Naysayers tend to be louder. So if it is something that you want to see, we need our proponents to actually support the project. And I do believe Eric Menser and Montez Parker and Steve Butler are doing a fabulous job trying to get the ball across the line. Thank you.
So I live downtown, and one of my biggest gripes, two of my biggest gripes are the stereos and the dirt bikes. And you touched on the dirt bikes about the drones, and I wonder, would you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, a little harebrained. I'll admit that. I mean, a lot of my ideas tend to be a little out there. But so when we're in a position now where, and some people in the room may not know, but our guys, our officers aren't allowed to chase, aren't allowed to pursue them for fear of liability issues and pushing the riders to crash. There's so many, we're basically attempting to deal with a problem with our hands tied behind our back. So for all the things we weren't able to do to try to tackle it, to try to follow them, to try to investigate, further the investigation, see where they're taking them back to, because they're generally held in nests or hubs in different garages and different properties. So this will provide us an ability to be able to track them, seen or unseen. So we actually found we decided to go with technology, just like with the surveillance cameras. And we're looking at, we're looking at drones that have the night vision capabilities so that they can, from very far, pursue and see where the nests and the hubs that they're being taken back to during the day or during the evening, and then have our nuisance abatement officers and teams be able to respond in then and collectively either seize the dirt bikes or cite the individuals. So we're really, really excited about the promise of how that's going to look. Reading caught wind of what we're doing, and they're chomping at the bit to try to get their order in faster than us now. And so, yeah.
Mr. Commissioner, if I can jump in, there's about 30 people joining online today. And one of the members is asking, where are all the illegal guns coming from and what else can be done to stop it?
Great question. When I asked our officers when we set up the detail that was Operation Scarecrow, which subsequently led to the full-time gun squad being created, we were able to, it was a hypothesis, we were able to theorize that a lot of our guns were actually coming into York City via straw purchases. And we set out to attack a straw purchase being somebody that is legally able to buy or obtain a gun, purchasing the gun, and then selling it on the street to people who are prohibited from having them. So when we set out to test that theory that I had, it was the results that we're seeing in the media, in the news, were nearly about 30 to 35 days worth of investigation. So in the course of a month, that was 50 some guns that were seized, 13 to 14 individuals who were identified as having sold firearms on the street, with some so blatant as once our detectives and our investigators started working the project, we were actually pulling surveillance video from the gun shops where we had some of the individuals, a 22-year-old, just case in point, that had actually taken a 16-year-old with him to the gun shop, walked him around the store, blatantly letting him pick out the guns that he wanted, buying them for him, and then giving him the guns in the parking lot on the surveillance camera. So after talking with the ATF, even the gun owners themselves, the gun shops, needed to get poked. They needed to get a fire lit underneath them, because it had been probably 11 to 12 years since local law enforcement in York County had really gone after straw purchases and really worked on holding our gun shops accountable. So what you saw was in a really, really small, relatively short time with the firearms, the semi-automatic rifles, everything that we were able to collect in that 30 days with these targeted investigations. But the message was sent, the message that we wanted to deliver got delivered quickly. I saw it as I moved about the community. Even when I would run and jog, I had people stopping me or rolling down the window. I had an old man roll down the window and yell out there, "Yeah, that scarecrow, you got him running, boy, you got him running. Keep it up, that scarecrow, man." And people really saw the impact that happened. It's sad that the problem was so prevalent and the ease of access to the firearms was so heavy in this area. And we as law enforcement had done so little going after that access, really trying to attack the access or the flow. But once we did, it woke people up. We're still dealing with the guns, the number of guns that had already flooded the York area, York County, and York City community. So there were already just so many guns out there, which is one of the reasons why I highlighted for one officer to have 12 gun arrests in an area like York, PA, that only has 45 to 50,000 people. That's mind blowing. If you look at the statistic of that, we are literally making a gun arrest every other day as a department. So while we have put a dent in the ease of access and we're making people consider that people are watching now, particularly with the gun shops being put on notice that if you're not doing a better job scrutinizing your customer, we're coming for you. We're starting to really see that spigot, that faucet turn off. Now it's a matter of getting in the houses, getting on the street, continuing to do the work, and continuing to pluck the guns and the firearms out of the community. Hope I answered that. Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you for your service and standing up and doing the right thing. I'm impressed by your speech. How is the participation and cooperation between your department and regional police departments, Lancaster, West York, state police, federal departments? Is it? I can predict your answer, but I'm going to listen for clues as to certain ones may be strong, certain ones may not be strong. Can you comment on that?
Absolutely. Sorry about that. The question was, how is the relationship and the participation that we're seeing with our other law enforcement partners in the area on different levels? I can definitely tell you that within our own yard or our neighbors, the York County departments, the relationship is very strong. I can speak to the fact that it's not just York City seeing the rise in gun violence. I guess we witnessed that the other day, unfortunately. It's all the area municipalities. They're seeing increases in gun violence in Dallastown and Brogue and Red Lion and North York, places that you would never expect to have seen it in the past. So we're already partnering with them, and they're coming on board with our GVI initiative, which is the Group and Gun Violence Intervention Program, where they're actually doing some officer sharing and some intelligence sharing and some dynamic work together to be able to tackle those issues and those problems that they're seeing in those communities, whether it's Spring Garden, Spring-It's-Berry, West York. We're doing a lot of partnering and networking. We now have a great relationship with our federal partners. With the gun squad that actually brought a full-time ATF agent to the York area, we have a full-time U.S. Marshal that works in our area that helps go after fugitives. So we're seeing a lot of partnering with the federal government, even with what Dave Sunday's doing from the prosecutor's office. With respect to the state, we hadn't had a lot of day-to-day boots on the ground partnering going on with the state police, but I'm excited and I'm heartened to be able to say that just last week, I actually had one of the lieutenants reach out to me that wanted to offer to be able to have the troopers participate more on a daily basis in neighborhoods. So I do believe you're going to see a lot more of that coming. The networking is there. I would like to think that I foster that just from a standpoint that I'm never going to let pride get in the way of success. So that old fashioned mindset of, well, it's our problem, we have to deal with it, we don't want to bring anybody in to see the mess in our yard, you're never going to get from me. If we don't have the manpower, and right now collectively we don't, we only have about, like I was telling my table earlier, we only have about 82 working officers on any given time that's actually working those calls. So when I say that's 50,000 911 calls, that's not even the proactive policing that's occurring, the traffic stops, the foot pursuits, the going after drug issues. That's 50,000 911 calls we're doing with 82 police officers. So I understand that I don't have enough people, boots on the ground, to stop all the problems. We can't do it by occupying anything. We have to do it by leveraging those relationships, like I talked about earlier, being able to have individuals think twice about us, care a little bit more, and working with the partners around us that can help us. You will start to see now more participation, more exchange of ideas, and more collaboration coming out of Harrisburg, Lancaster, and Carlisle with York, because we've actually started a Chiefs group and we collectively meet now, the sister cities. So I think there's going to be a lot of great projects coming out of that. I laugh when I think about it, because the most recent meeting we had was for me to get scolded by the other 3 chiefs for being on the news too much. They I have to say it like they said it, but they literally told me, yeah, young boy, you ain't gonna keep being on the news all the time without us, without the other cities like being involved. So they're actually going to be coming down to participate in our community walks, just because they're starting to see the benefits and the reaction of the community for the positive things that we're doing. They're starting to see that a different way mindset is actually catching on. So I'm excited about that, which I'm sure will lead to additional networking with the other cities. Thank you. Yes, sir. Now that the question, I'm going to repeat the question. His was a very powerful question. It was for the individuals who live outside of York City. If I had my moment with them, what would be my request for the individuals in the county, our county neighbors? I will say this because I don't believe in missing opportunities. So feel free to yank me if I get too preachy. First and foremost, I would say to them, care. And what I mean by care about the things that are happening, because know that the bad, the negative, the destructive behaviors are cancerous. And because so much of it, like I spoke about earlier, is cultural amongst young people, it has the ability and will continue to spread. So care now while we're fighting it, so it doesn't make it to your neighborhood. Care with your conversations, care with your energy, your time, your resources, care.
Mr. Commissioner, there's another question that came in online, and this is very timely in terms of the July 4th holiday. The question is, how can citizens help with the fireworks problem night after night? Can people call in and tell you where they're shooting from?
Ooh, this is another one that's going to get me yanked. And I apologize in advance just because I didn't take down the name of the individual. Apparently there was and somebody feel free to jump in and throw the name out there if you know it off the top of your head, but the politician that spearheaded the change in the fireworks laws locally here in the state of PA. He recently came out as we're all contending with issues, police departments, fire departments. We just had a recent death, York City. We've had multiple houses burned down. Everybody's trying to contend with that decision now. So when the complaints started to come out from our agencies, the individual was quoted something to the effect, "Suck it up," was his response. His response to an 8-year-old dying was "Suck it up." So I say all that to say that the difficulties that were created with the legislation that changed all the rules and made it easier for me to prosecute drugs and guns than it was for me to arrest somebody for using illegal fireworks is the problem. At this point, we're at a position where a police officer literally needs to see you start to ignite a firework before I can make an arrest on it. For that to be possible, probable, or even practical is ridiculous. I'm completely amazed and surprised that even on the 4th of July, with the 1,000+ firework calls that came in through 911 just to our area, with the 70 to 80 that were backed up at any given time, that our officers were able to make 11 arrests. Somebody would say, well, out of 1,000 calls, 11 arrests, that's not too impressive. That was 11 people who chose to literally light a firework and set off fireworks in front of a cop driving by.
Well, and a follow-up to that, can citizens share videos? This person's asking if they can share videos.
They can share them, but here's the problem. Once again, the legislation has changed it that I can't use witness testimony. I can't use the video. I can't even use the individual coming to court with me saying that they were setting off fireworks all night, they were flying in my yard and burning my dog. I can't use it. We now, because of that legislative change, have to have a police officer literally view it happening to be able to make that arrest.
And that's specific to fireworks, or is that
Specific to fireworks?
Specific to
It's now harder to prosecute a fireworks offense than it is for a constructive possession drug arrest or gun possession charge. So my answer to them is we need the calls, we need the emails, we need the complaints, but we need them to go to that legislator's office or whichever legislator will push that individual who told us to suck it up.
Thank you.
And if anybody knows the name, please throw it out there. I feel like I need to grab my phone and text somebody real quick to get it, but yes, that is absolutely the name. Please tell the person who was just on there on the call, that is his name, y'all. So if they will
Y'all.
Google Representative Y'all's office, pull his email, pull his phone number up, all of that information they want to send to me, please send to him because we're busy sucking it up. Yes, sir.
Commissioner, I wanted to thank you because
I'm sorry, 1 second. Can you throw out there, they were asking how to spell it because they really want to find the information and deal with YAW.
And I'll share it in the chat.
Thank you so
for those
much.
Online.
Commissioner, I wanted to thank you. Unfortunately, I have his phone number. So at Allen Park, where we built Allen Park, we got literally fireworks. I took pictures, sent them to the commissioner. Understanding now that he can't do anything about it. Dirt bikes. I do know that on Wallace Street, I gave intel. I'm willing to share that I provided an address. They came and seized bikes. It does work when you speak up and help them out. I also want to thank you for your presence in the community because it's filtering through. Officer Nova has helped at the high school level for baseball. Officer Palmer is volunteering as our umpire in chief for the York City Little League. So it's filtering through and it's making an awesome difference. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. You know, it's funny that you appreciate it. And it's funny that you bring up Officer Palmer because as part of the presentation, when I talked about the juvenile engagement officer earlier, and when I first thought that up, because that's my thing in case anybody doesn't know or anybody that doesn't know me, I think up ideas and then I believe in surrounding myself with awesome people that can help flesh it out. So I tend to create a lot of work for other people. So one of those crazy ideas was the juvenile engagement officer. The thought that I over the years, over the course of 20 some odd years, have received so many phone calls from parents who know that their child is heading down the wrong direction, heading down a difficult path, but need help, and always having to hear the response that we in law enforcement or criminal justice agencies give them, which is, well, when they're arrested, once they're in the system, after they do something, then we can help, and sending them away, sending those struggling parents away. I said to myself, if I was ever given an opportunity such as this, I wanted to change that. I wanted to be able to stop telling people no. So we created that position. We carved out one police officer's salary for the purpose of being there to help parents before their kids get in trouble. And I remember when I first decided to do it and threw it out there, everybody told me, "Oh, that's nice, that's novel, but you're crazy if you think our community parents are going to actually call a cop to say, can you help me with my kid?" To date, on a consistent basis, Officer Palmer is handling 50 to 60 calls from parents every month by itself. Parents that are at wits end, that I'm at wits end, that I know my kid's about to get in trouble. He's had a mom call him and say, I believe my son has a gun, and open the door to have Palmer go search the room. 50 to 60 calls a month from parents calling a cop to help them with their kids. I'm not saying we have all the right answers, but I'm saying that we're starting to ask the right questions. Yes, sir. Sorry.
You said 82, that's awesome. You said 82 police officers. In your perfect world, how many officers do you need to do your job?
Thank you, Brother Weary. His question was, as I said earlier, we're doing the lion's share of the work that I've talked to you about today. The details, the gun seizures, the drug arrests, the fentanyl arrests, all the firearms and the projects and stuff we're doing, the juvenile engagement officers, the participation, the outreach, the walking, all that's being done with 82 officers. The question that he had was, in a perfect world, what would I want? How many officers would I like? I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to give you any like answer that's going to make my life comfortable. That's not what it's about, because I understand that turns into taxpayer dollars and affects the community that I care about, that's always cared about me. But I will say this, I will answer it by saying this. When I was here, like you spoke about, this is my second go round. When I was here, when I was hired in 2000, for that 8 years that I was here with my father, we always hovered around 115 officers. Lancaster has 130. Harrisburg is around 145. They both deal with the same levels of crime. We see where we were at with officers 20 years ago, when we thought the young people were more compliant, when we thought the problems in the community were at a lesser degree. And to think that today, given all the new influences, social media, the access to firearms, the issues, the increases in bullying, the things that we're seeing across the landscape, new drug activity, everything, to think that we're trying to do it with 82 is a sad state of affairs. I'm proud of our guys for continuing to come and swing anyway, but I would like to see us back to those numbers of about 110. So thank you again for having me.
Commissioner Muldrow, the Rotary theme this year, the RI theme, is Serve to Change Lives. And I think you epitomize that in the work that you're doing every single day on behalf of our community. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for the way that you solve problems and for your positive thinking. And I pray that that continues to be what drives you each and every day. And I know we're going to have more officers, and we're going to have less crime, and it's going to continue to be a great place to live, work, and play. So thank you very much for being here. You're awesome. Past President Di Hershey started this a few years ago under her presidency. I love this. We give our speakers a gift. It's a twofold gift, because they get to sign the gift plate, and we do it in honor of them, but then we present it to an area school or learning center. And I'm pleased to present the book, Jack, Not Jackie, by Erica Silverman. And Commissioner Muldrow is signing the book plate for this, which will go to the York Day Nursery. Rotarians, next week, we will have Dr. Scott Moore, Director of China Programs and Strategic Initiatives at University of Pennsylvania, and he will discuss the current state of U.S.-China relations. Closing thought for you: the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Have a great rest of your week. This meeting is adjourned.